and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
I am Jacob Watabe with Weekend Sports USA, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
Hi, I'm Olivia Hain, and I'm the Director of Public Relations at Great Coasters International, and you're listening to Coaster Challenge podcast.
Hi, I'm Mark, aka Swiss Coaster Enthusiast, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
I'm Austin from Park Hoppers Radio, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
Hello, my name is Paul Cooper from Thrill Voice Photography, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Yes, I accept the Coaster Challenge. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Coaster Challenge podcast is here. It's time to face your fears. Get that theme park therapy and lend us both your Coaster Challenge podcast is here. Your fear can disappear. We know that theme park therapy can dry up all your tears. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Yes, I accept the Coaster Challenge. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? We accept because you know we're not average.
You're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast. A journey where people become fearful to fearless, all from riding roller coasters. So please, secure your hats and glasses and keep your hands and arms inside the podcast. It's time to accept the Coaster Challenge with your hosts, Kim Dykes.
Hello, everyone. This is Kim, the Coaster Challenge podcast line producer, and I'm delighted for the opportunity to talk with my guest this evening. Today, I'm sitting down with Randy Davidson, a theme park enthusiast, family man, and multi-talented photographer from Virginia. Welcome, Randy.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I am so happy that we are finally able to connect with each other and hear your story. We've become somewhat affiliated through social media, but I'm sure there's so much more to hear about you and your story. I'd like to start with you introducing yourself to our audience and telling me more about you.
Hi, I'm Randy Davidson. I'm the creator of BGW PhotoFan, which is started as an Instagram group and Facebook group. Take photos for that. I am a family man. I have my lovely wife, Andrea, who's my partner in crime. Can't do anything without her. She's the best. She's my best friend. I have two older kids, grown kids. One is out of the house. One is still with us. And one is married, and thankful for that. And I enjoy photography, and I work a full 9-to-5 job and trying to escape the theme parks as much as possible to escape that 9-to-5 job.
Oh, I totally hear you there. My 9-to-5 job is I'm an elementary art teacher, 24 years strong.
Wow.
What is your 9-to-5 job? I'm curious.
I am a shipping lead for a company called Lieber. We build the big mining trucks that you see on TV that are like huge trucks that haul massive amounts of dirt and coal. And a bunch of other stuff, yes. We ship all around the world.
Well, I tell you, I totally respect what you do. Going through college, my summer job, I'm sure your job entails a lot more than what I did, but it was enough to motivate me to keep going back to college and finish because I just liked it so much.
Yeah.
My dad worked in a factory in my hometown of Maysville, Kentucky. It used to go by Brownings, and then it went to Emerson Power Transmission. Eventually, they basically made gears and sprockets, dealt with a lot of cast iron dust, and and that sort of thing. Hot factory, no air conditioning, nothing. And my summer job through college was to do shipping and receiving in that factory.
Oh, wow.
And I was in this little tiny shoebox of an office. It was so hot you could hardly breathe. It was dirty. It was stinky. And it was one of those jobs when you were busy, you were slammed. And if you weren't busy, you were watching the clock.
Yeah.
I'm not a clock watcher.
Neither am I.
And I was really busy doing stuff I didn't like doing. So I knew I had to work, and kind of the family expectation was, you're just going to work where your dad's worked for 38 years. And I'm like, over my dead body, I'm not doing this. So that was the motivation for me. If it was school was hard to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy work.
No, it's not.
No.
But I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful I have a solid job that I'm there. I've been there 13 years, and I'm thankful for that. It pays my bills and it's given me other opportunities, and thankful for that. Definitely thankful.
Good. And I was thankful too for for that whole experience. The people I met were people that I will never forget. And it was a stepping stone for me.
Oh wow! Yeah, absolutely.
On that path of what I wanted to do and motivate.
I think you got to do that. You got to take those experiences that you get from people and apply that to life, and carry those experiences on through your life. And and then later on, you're like, oh wow, I've got that experience before. I know how to deal with that. Yeah, those are important.
All right, so the way our interview is going to work. The beginning of our interview, the first half, is what we like to refer to as the fear journey. It's going to be kind of a walk back through time with your history of coaster riding, amusement parks, and that sort of thing. And then the second half of the interview, we kind of fast forward and launch out of the fear journey, time travel, I call it sometimes. And we'll talk about the Randy Davidson more of today and things that you have planned for the future.
Awesome.
All right. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to launch right into our fear journey. I'd like you to take a walk back in time, go back as far as you can, and tell us what your very first coaster is that you remember riding.
My very first coaster that I remember riding was at Disneyland. It was the Matterhorn. It was pretty scary for a young kid, that big old tall mountain, because you see that freeway in California when we drove up to it. You can see it, and it's pretty tall. And yeah, that was my first ride, Matterhorn.
Disney in California, Disney period, is not a place where I've actually been. That's a place where I'm hoping to visit California within the next couple of years. And Disney World, I went on one trip there one time on a band trip in high school. I don't remember anything about it. So that the Florida Disney we're planning on going to next year. Going to make a trip out of that, and I'm hoping to make it out to California in a couple of years. Do you remember how old you were approximately when you rode Matterhorn?
Probably 7, 8 years old, maybe.
Okay, so you were pretty young.
Yeah, pretty young. We're going to ride this ride and we're going to do it. And I'm like, I probably whined quite a bit about trying to get on that ride. It was pretty scary.
Did you have other family members that rode as well, or was it just you?
It was mostly a friend that came with the family at the time that rode with us, and of course you're just like, oh, I went with this with my family and stuff. And we rode this before. It's awesome. And, I heard, I look at it and it's this tall, huge, to me as an 8-year-old, tall, huge roller coaster, and, it goes in and out, and, you hear the screaming and you're like, what's this all about? I've never, so it's pretty scary.
I remember we would just take trips once a year to Kings Island when I was a kid. That was the extent of my amusement park experience for a long time. And I would stand and look at those coasters just in complete awe and fear. My family, I was the youngest of 3 daughters, and they wouldn't let me ride anything. I thought it was scary. Now, they would let me spin in circles all day long, which I hated. And I still
could never do circles.
I can do circles per se now, but I cannot do tight, fast circles.
Yeah.
I feel sick, and it'll literally mess me up for the day. But I rode a few coasters. I remember my first one was Beastie. And then now Woodstock Express. Over the years, I rode Racer. I remember getting on King Cobra a few times, but I didn't really start riding much I rode Vortex, I remember, on my senior trip in 1994.
Wow.
And I think Son of Beast sometime when I was in college, but I didn't really start riding much after that until 2018, when my son and I started getting into riding coasters. So looking back on the coasters you've ridden through that fear journey, I mean, I noticed you already mentioned that Matterhorn was scary.
Yeah, at 8 years old, it definitely was.
You know, looking at the scare factor, what was the one out of all of them that you've ridden that would rate a 10 on the scare scale? Absolutely scared you the most?
The one that scared me the most before I rode it, and your coaster guys are going to laugh at me a lot, is Griffin at Busch Gardens. And the reason why that was, I mean, that was, now I ride it all the time, but that was very scary. I mean, that height. I had as far as sitting there at the height, sitting over the edge, looking over the edge, that is that's very scary and very intimidating to do that. But now I ride that all the time. I enjoyed that. Now I'll ride in front and love it. So.
Now, were you a kid when you rode that?
No, it was actually an adult.
And what scared you?
The height, looking down over, you know, the stopping at the top, you know, you get stuck up here, you know, anxiety creeps in your brain, and you start thinking about things, and you're like, wow, that's what happens if the train sticks here. We're stuck over the edge, and how are they going to get me down? And, you know, what's going to happen, you know? But now I love that ride. That's an awesome ride now. But, you know, first time I saw that, that's pretty scary.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I know now dive coasters, they're pretty, you know, if you've ridden one, they're kind of similar. But
yeah, absolutely.
The first dive coaster I rode was at Cedar Point, Valraven, and I remember the same thing. The first time I rode it, and I was afraid getting it, you know, at the top of that drop and just sitting there.
Yeah.
Sitting
out, looking down.
And looking down. If you're not used to that, it affects you. It hits you. I can't remember it as being, I guess, one of the scariest, but I do remember I was pretty darn nervous.
Yep.
That first ride, for sure. So as you were getting on Griffin the first time, do you remember how you were feeling when you approached the station?
Oh, yeah. I was really anxiety ridden. Had a lot of anxiety about it. Had, you know, a lot of apprehension about it.
Mm-hmm. Mine were very similar to what we discussed, you know, before we got started. Like anytime I would do public speaking, when I would get nervous, the same thing would hit me when I was in line for coasters. That scared me. My palms would get real sweaty. I'd get cotton mouth real bad, like a thirst that just could not be quenched.
Yeah, exactly.
Felt my heart pounding. Couldn't breathe right.
Yeah, exactly.
I get all the feels.
Yeah, definitely gives you all the feels, and you got to get the nervousness, you know. But that's something you learn to conquer, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, I had someone that was encouraging enough to get me on it and walk me through it, and you know, was going to be there through it, and that was important. So that helped.
And I'll tell you what helped me a lot. When I first started riding coasters, and I talk about people laughing at you, I'm sure people will laugh at this. I used to ride with my eyes closed because I was scared.
Oh yeah.
And I don't even remember when. I think it was I rode Vortex. I didn't even want to ride it. I was scared to death of the thing back at 1994. And even though I rode that first ride with my eyes closed, I remembered it felt good and I liked it. That was back, you know, when it ran really well. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to try that again with my eyes open. I mean, I don't remember how many times I did it. And I would just kind of pop my eyes open here and there for a few rides. And then if I got too scared, I closed my eyes again. I don't remember how many times it took me to start opening my eyes. But I realized part of the fear was not seeing what was happening.
Yeah, exactly. That'll cause fear. That'll cause more fear than anything.
And I realized it was actually a lot more fun when I opened my eyes and enjoyed the ride. I don't remember how many times it took, but it was a whole different experience with my eyes open and closed. That's for sure.
That's like my wife. I mean, my wife just started riding coasters again here 2 years ago, and she wouldn't ride forever. And she really conquered her fear, and has now ridden will ride pretty much anything now. So she's really come a long ways herself, stepping out of her comfort zone, her anxieties, her fears of riding those rides. And she's ridden pretty much anything. She's even conquered, what she was feared with, sorry, my brain went dead at Carowinds, Fury 320.
Fury 325.
Yeah, 325, sorry. Yeah. And she's conquered that, and she rides that. Like, that's one of her favorite rides, I think. So,
yeah. Fury was one of mine that I was deathly afraid of the first time I rode it. This was before I was an enthusiast. It was 2019, and I was actually so scared that on the first visit, I chickened out on the night rides and left the park. I wouldn't even ride it at night.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's hard to believe that we travel to Carowinds once a year now just to Marathon Fury.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea there.
Fantastic. I love Fury. It just took getting the fear out of me to love Fury the way it deserves to be loved. I'll put it that way.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we went back in 2021, and I remember we got 25 rides on that trip, but that was post-COVID, so the park was still closing early.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Didn't get my first night rides till we went back last year. And we stayed, I remember we count rides when we go. We did 35 rides that day.
Yeah.
And then we went back for Winterfest, and I think we got 10 rides that night.
Nice.
So it's so therapeutic for me. Some of the coasters I love, for the intensity of the insanity, like Iron Gwazi. But
I haven't rode that yet. I'm still
it's my
waiting to get that right.
It's my number. It's my number one. If it could be a number 0, that's what it would be. It stands that far ahead.
Yeah.
The 364 coasters I've ridden so far.
Wow.
But Fury for me is just Fury's a different experience. It's just an easy ride. It's great stress relief. It's just so much fun.
Oh, yeah. It's smooth. It's fast. It's
effortless. It's effortless riding.
Yeah.
Just ride all day.
I like that.
Yeah. No, I call it the healing power of the Sting. It's just.
That's a great That's a great analogy of that one. Definitely.
And I've heard this year that Fury's speakers are fixed, so we're really excited to go back and hear the speakers full power. My son loves the speakers.
Oh wow! I didn't even know that.
They were quiet last year. Something was up with Fury speakers, and my friends that are down there now tell me that they're fixed. So he's really happy about that.
Now I'm excited to go back again.
Yeah, looking back on that first ride on Griffin, you were so scared going through the station, getting on the ride. How'd you feel when you got off?
Oh, I couldn't believe I did that or accomplished that. Did it, especially rode the front row. That's the great part of it is that, hey, I did it, and I lived to see it and I didn't die, so that was the exciting part. And, it kind of like, okay, I can do that now. That's one step further than I was before. And it's awesome. It was an awesome feeling.
I love that. What you said, you lived to do it and you didn't die.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a quote to stick with. I did it and I didn't die.
Didn't die. Did you die? Nope. Then you're.
Let's tell about it. So I have to do it again. Yeah. So looking back, you said you were an adult when you rode that. Did it impact your life in any way at that point in time, or did you notice impacts later on?
Well, it just that's just another ride that I was able to conquer that, had a fear. I had a fear behind it, and I, helped me ride other rides, like Intimidator. Mm-hmm. There is another one in King's Dominion that is very intimidating, and I got to, that's another one that really scared me to do. And finally had another one with a friend. It was his birthday, and he says, well, you got to ride this at least twice with me. I said, oh man, I really, I don't know about this. And rode it with him, and yeah, I mean, it's just another one that we conquer one at a time. We just check them off, another fear down. So.
Yeah. And like me, I didn't really notice as I was overcoming fear and riding coasters. I mean, some of the more memorable ones for me, were that first, when I finally put my hands up on Diamondback, that kind of started my life as an enthusiast. Then I had to overcome crazy inversions. I went on to Banshee. That scared me to death the first time. And then the other ones that really stand out in my mind as being a freaking big deal, on the fear factor, were Fury, just because of the sheer monstrosity of looking at that thing.
I know, it's huge.
Oh, it's extremely intimidating. And Top Thrill Dragster. Up at Cedar
I never
Point.
got to ride that. I've never been up there, but I wish that's one fear that I wish I had been able to go and conquer and do. So
I mean, you can still ride King to Caw at Six Flags Great Adventure.
Okay, I have to try that one.
We went to Six Flags Great Adventure last July, and I really enjoyed King to Caw. Some people give it hate because of the restraints. They say it's got a rattle, especially towards the back. It didn't bother me, but if you think rattle's going to bother you, go towards the front. Just push your head out of the restraints a little bit. It didn't bother me at all.
Oh, wow.
I really enjoyed it. And I'm usually not an over-the-shoulder restraint person, but the way these came out from my body, I was able to keep my head out of the restraint fine. It didn't bother me, but I know some people have a different opinion on that. Yeah. And that's okay. But, looking back at those coasters that I mentioned, I didn't really realize how it was impacting my life then until I realized how it impacted my life later. I was like, okay, weight loss. If you can get your head together 400 feet in the air and you're not afraid of anything, you can keep your head together in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Codependency used to be a big problem of mine. I would do and do and do for everybody else. Never really stayed how I was feeling about it, sacrificed myself.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm able to be assertive when I need to be assertive.
Yeah, learning those boundaries.
Yeah. I've learned to use the word no, and I've learned to stand by it, because otherwise you can't drink. You cannot drink from an empty cup.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of yourself and prioritize taking care of yourself, you get to the point where you're a mess for everybody.
Yeah. You're no help to nobody. Yeah.
And so, just assertiveness, confidence, being able to speak in front of people, being able to do what I need to do for myself so that I can be the best I can be for other people. These are just all the impacts that fear facing has had on me, and I didn't realize it was happening until certain circumstances just presented themselves. And then I'm like, I can't believe I did it. Wow.
Exactly.
How about that? And then you want to do it again.
And again and again.
Exactly. And it's an amazing feeling when that happens. So let's talk about some fun stuff now.
Awesome.
One of my most enjoyable things about, riding coasters and getting to know all the people I've met and being in parks are these moments that literally just happen out of nowhere. And after the fact, it's like another scenario of, wow, I can't believe that just happened. So feel free to interpret this question any way you choose and respond any way you feel like responding. Looking back on all your experiences on coasters and in parks, even with photography for that matter, because that's going to be the main topic of our interview later on, what's been your craziest experience that you can remember as an enthusiast?
Wow. That's great. That's a hard question. I've had so many great, meeting all the awesome people that I've met and stuff, and met so many different people and so many things. I don't really have a crazy story. Had lots of fun. Had a lot of crazy fun times. Riding coasters, meeting a lot of different people. But as far as like a crazy, I don't know if I have a crazy story, but basically,
Anything unexpected.
The unexpected thing about being a coaster and a theme park enthusiast is the people that we've met. There are so many people in the coaster community, the people that work at the parks, the people that are members and people that go to those parks all the time. We've gained so many friendships out of that, to where like it's amazing. Friendships that last a long time, lifetime. Coming from California where we came, we pretty much kept to ourselves. We didn't do a whole lot of communicating with a lot of different people and hanging out with a lot of different people. And this has really helped myself and my wife a lot in meeting and reaching out and being stretched to engage people and learn to work with people and enjoy the same kind of enjoyment they get out of coasters that we do in theme parks and stuff like that. Hang around people that are the same as us, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
For me. And, that's kind of what led me to being on this podcast. The people.
Oh, definitely.
And, the people that I've met have had such a positive impact on me. I'm like, I want to be able to do this more for other people. And talking about crazy, the craziest thing for me now is literally any park I walk into. Because especially in the summer when I'm not working, I am literally here, there, and everywhere. I'm hardly ever home during the summer. That's
awesome.
Peak travel season. And I was joking with somebody the other day. I said, it's true though, because I'll randomly get invited at the last minute to different places, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, can I squeeze that into this calendar? Sure, I can squeeze that in. I said, but I'll have to literally sometimes look at the calendar from day to day to remember when I'm supposed to show up. But funny part about that is, a lot of times too, especially if I'm going on trips for new coasters, I don't go with friends. A lot of times it'll be mainly my son and I just riding, because like after we get the credits, we want to go marathon the good ones.
So
we'll try to show up and we know a lot of people aren't going to be there. And, marathoning's not something I'm going to go do if I've got, other people with us. That, you think about what they want to do as well. But literally just about everywhere I go, I will find people that I know or that know me. They know who I am. They will introduce themselves. They'll want to stop.
That's always funny. Huh?
And the world just keeps getting smaller.
Yeah.
And when you see good friends, a lot of times, like, you don't even know they're going to be there. And it doesn't matter how long it's been since you've seen them. It feels like you just saw them yesterday. You pick right back up where you left off. And there's just no other feeling like it at all,
Yeah. It's always great to see people that that you talk to or you see or you ride coasters with or you do theme parks with, and you see them at other theme parks and stuff. And it's funny, when I first started BGW Photo Fan, we'd start going places and stuff, and it's like, oh, aren't you Randy from BGW Photo Fan?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at first, it's like my wife was like, you can't go anywhere without being noticed. Like, and we went to Dollywood, and she's probably thinking, no one's going to know you down here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
it happens again.
Yeah, it happens again. It's fun.
It is, and I'll tell you though, the part that shocks me the most, this has only happened a couple times, is when people say they've seen me before, but they were like afraid to talk to me. Like,
yeah,
I'm just a school teacher from Louisville that rides coasters. I'm on a podcast. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I hear that, it's like, oh, I saw you at so and so, and I wanted to come talk to you. And it's like, well, why didn't you? I'm the easiest guy to talk to.
Yeah,
I'll just talk. I talk to random people I don't even know all the time, and I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories, and what they're doing, what's going on in their lives, what they're enjoying about the theme parks, the coasters, and they love sharing those stories too, and I love listening to those.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it doesn't take much effort to stop for 5 minutes of your day, be kind, and make somebody's day.
Oh, absolutely.
It really doesn't require much effort at all, and the rewards are infinite.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is. I've always been, do something that do something kind each day for someone that can't do for themselves.
Do as much good as you can for as many as you can.
Absolutely, and and that's what we enjoy doing. So
yeah, same
part
here.
of our
Okay, so a popular topic amongst enthusiasts is coaster rankings, and some of my more entertaining conversations come from people talking about their favorite coasters, least favorite coasters, and that sort of thing. I am going to ask, and different people do different things. Do you count coaster credits?
I do not. I mean, because I've done it so sporadically in between the years, and I've never really kept count. I tried kind of looking back at what I've done, and it was too hard to keep track of that. So
yeah, and it's unless you can remember for certain.
Yeah,
which ones you've ridden, I can see how it can become very. When I put together a list, especially when I started counting, I went back and I would only put the ones down that I was sure.
Yeah, I mean, because there's ones I rode at Magic Mountain in California, but I don't remember all of them. It's so long ago. And then, of course, there's ones at Knott's, and then Disney, of course, and then a few others.
Okay.
And then, but I've, when I got here, road coasters more when I got here back to Virginia than I did anywhere else.
Okay. And, Virginia, that's a place I'm going to probably wind up visiting indefinitely, at least once a year now. when we go down to Carowinds. At first, I said I wasn't going to go back to Virginia this year because we were just back down. We went to Busch Gardens, Kings Dominion last summer, and then we were back down there again over Winterfest. So I'm like, okay, I've got my Pantheon fix. I've got my, Twisted Timbers, Intimidator 305. I'm good for a while. Well, then they said Dark Coaster was opening. And I'm like, well, I can hold off on that. Well, then I discovered that my Busch Seas Pass that I had, my Platinum Pass, automatically renewed at the same rate that I'd been paying. I thought the price was going to increase.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't. So I kept that pass. I used the crap out of it when I was down in Florida for spring break. I'm like, what the heck? I still got this thing. We're going to be back down at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg this year too. I guess we're going to ride Dark Coaster. So whenever I figure out when that trip's going to be, it'll be sometime.
You make sure you let me know. We'll get together. I'd love to get together, guys. And I won't hold you up from riding the coaster, so we'll just say hi and take some pictures for you.
Oh, you're good. And I love to take time to talk. Love to take time to talk to people too.
Yeah.
To me, that's just as much fun, sometimes more fun, and definitely more rewarding than just riding coasters.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be riding coasters if it wasn't for the people that had got me involved.
Absolutely. That's perfectly said.
So, out of the coasters you've ridden, what is the one that you would say you enjoy more than any of them?
Fury. I guess Fury is one of my favorite. And then I'm probably different than a lot of people as far as how I feel about things. Fury, and then I like Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Those two are amazing. And then Velocicoaster, of course. That's amazing. Those are probably my top three. And then, probably I love Pantheon. I don't know if it's in my top five, but
I agree. To me, it's a fantastic coaster. It's not quite Velocicoaster, but it's still in my top 10. Pantheon is.
Yeah, it would probably be in my top 10. But Velocicoaster, Fury, Lightning Rod at Dollywood, those are amazing rides to me.
So those are all great coasters, but they're very different coasters. What is it about each one that appeals to you?
Fury is just a great ride. I mean, it's like Apollo's Chariot I know I'm gonna get flack for this. The Apollo Chariot at Busch Gardens on steroids.
Oh yes.
It's smooth. It's it's kind of faster than that, obviously. That first dive is amazing, and just the way it is, it's just a great ride. Velocicoaster, it's in a league of its own. I mean, I haven't rode as many coasters as a lot of people, and it's a coaster that rides. It's intense from start to finish.
Yes.
I mean, there's no breathing room in between. You're going, and there's no like, oh, look at there. I don't remember anything around that was going on at that time except that ride. It was just amazing, and it's just intense. And then Lightning Rod at Dollywood is kind of the same. It's got the airtime. It's got the hills. I love that takeoff. You're just taking off right up the hill, right away. And those air times are pretty amazing.
Okay. Now, Lightning Rod for me, now hear me out. There's no such thing as a bad RMC, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's 3 categories of RMC. There's good, better, and best.
Yeah.
It's my favorite manufacturer. There's no bad RMCs. So I'm not dissing on Lightning Rod. Please don't give me any hate.
I don't take any of it personal. So
no, I'm talking to listeners too. Don't send me DMs. Why are you dissing on Lightning Rod? Yeah. It's fun, but it doesn't have any inversions, and I love inversions.
Yeah.
So for me, that kind of moves it down. Plus, last couple of rides I've had on, particularly towards the back, there were a couple of potholes that hit real hard.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I'm going to be back this year, later in the year, to ride Big Bear Mountain and get some of the couple of the new mountain coaster credits in the area. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, Lightning Rod will be open that day.
Yeah.
And I'll get to see how it's doing this year, because it definitely runs different from visit to visit when we're lucky enough for it to be open.
Well, see, that was the thing. That was the thing that broke my heart, is because we planned a trip to Dollywood, and I've been there twice now. And my sole purpose, of course, was to ride Lightning Rod, because that's one of the ones I wanted to ride. And sure enough, the week before we took off, they had said that they were going to close it for the year. I was like devastated. I was like mad the whole trip.
I understand.
Yeah.
I would have been devastated. One of our other producers on the podcast, Andrew, one of his white whales, I mean, he grew up in New Jersey. He still hadn't been on El Toro. And his favorite manufacturer is Intamin.
Oh,
and
wow.
he went back he went last year. I had gone to Six Flags Great Adventure just in July and gotten in on El Toro. Literally the week before he was supposed to be at Six Flags Great Adventure, and shut down for the rest of the year.
Oh wow, that's I can
Oh
understand.
no, but it does look like it's going to reopen. They've done a lot of they've really done extensive track work on it. So hopefully one of these days that'll be open for him as well. But and you mentioned Velocicoaster. You're talking about the intensity. One thing that stuck with me about that ride, because this doesn't happen to me on very many rides at all. Like there's only 2 rides that actually have me completely out of breath consistently by the end of the ride. And that's Iron Gwazi and Voyage. Those are my top 2.
Wow.
But Velocicoaster, every single time, that second launch tunnel, I can't breathe through the launch tunnel.
Wow.
I love it. I mean, it literally just takes my wind.
Yeah, it's an intense ride. I love it. It
is. And any coaster that does that to me, especially that's that rewritable,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to black out or anything like that. I'm fully awake for the experience. I just can't breathe. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like the launch. Another ride at Universal that we got to ride that I was not going to ride. We ended up. I enjoy it. I'm probably a lot of people don't like it. Is the Hulk? That launch alone out of that tunnel is amazing.
Oh yes.
Yes, that's an amazing ride. I'm so glad we decided to ride that. So.
Mm-hmm. That is one of my favorite. That's one of my favorites down there as well. Only thing with Hulk for me that's a problem can be, but it's not a big problem because I've managed to figure out ways around it. I'm only 5'3". The over the shoulder restraints, I don't like that I have to hold on and keep my head back to keep my head.
Oh yeah, from bumping your head all around.
If it weren't for that, it would be perfect.
Yeah.
But it's still the best coaster of its kind. I very much enjoy it.
It's an amazing coaster.
So let's go to the opposite end of the totem pole here. Let's go from those favorite coasters that you love. Are there any coasters that you've ridden and you're like, okay, I'm never doing that again? It was horrible. You're one and done coasters.
It was in Tennessee Tornado in Dollywood.
Really? Tell me more about that. That's interesting.
I rode that, and that kind of really messed me up for the whole day. It was real shaky. It messed me. And a friend of ours that went with us, she was pretty messed up too the rest of the day. I will never ride that ride again. It was just that bad of a ride.
Because that's actually for me, it's interesting because for me, I'm not a huge fan of old air loopers. Okay, let me make that clear. Yeah. The majority of them beat the crap out of my head or box my ears. Tennessee Tornado is one of only a couple that I'll actually ride a few times. Wow. What is it about Tennessee Tornado that was so bad for you?
I don't know really I don't really have an answer. When I got off that ride, I usually don't feel sick and I usually don't feel disoriented. Okay. And when I got off that ride, I was sick feeling and disoriented. I mean, I lost probably a good 2 hours of time after feeling it from that. And I just one who did that. I mean, I can ride Loch Ness and I don't get that way. It's a rough ride also. Mm-hmm. But that Tennessee Tornado was, I'll never do that ride again. Never. So
that is definitely a hot take. And audience, don't be sending him hate messages over Tennessee Tornado. That's a hot take for sure. But
I mean, my whole coaster thing is a lot different than a lot of people. I have a lot of different takes, a lot of different things. I don't follow a lot of the guidelines that everybody wants you to follow. You know, I have my reasons for liking stuff, and just like they do. So
And the way I see it is this is a hobby.
Yeah.
And everybody does it their own way.
Oh,
And one of the
absolutely.
things that's been definitely the most educational for me, being a producer on the podcast, is having conversations with so many different people about coasters and realizing everyone has a different experience.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's okay. There's no rights, there's no wrongs.
No.
And anyone that wants to talk down to somebody or make fun of their opinion and really be serious about it needs to go find another hobby.
Yeah, some
Because
people
it's
take
not
it a
me, it
little
was
too
great fun.
serious. Yeah.
Way I see it is, if you enjoy it and you're having fun, I'm happy for you.
That's right. It's my money, I'm paying for it. And if it's the fun I'm having, that's the fun I'm having.
End of story. Yes. So, you've also said, in addition to being, coaster enthusiast, you're also a theme park enthusiast. I'd like to know more about that because, some people, coaster enthusiasts, show up literally just to ride coasters. That's all they do all day long is ride coasters. They're not much into the full theme park experience. But you have communicated that you are very much not just about the coasters, but the whole entirety of the theme park. As a theme park enthusiast, I'd like to know, what are some of your favorite parks you've visited, and what are some bucket list parks that you'd like to visit in the future?
Oh, definitely. I visited since we moved to the East Coast. I still have a lot on my bucket list to hit. But we've done Dollywood, Carowinds, King's Dominion, of course, Busch Gardens being my home park. We've done SeaWorld, which has Mako, which is another one I love.
Mako's fantastic.
Yeah. And SeaWorld, and then Universal and Islands of Adventure. We've done all those, and I love going to the different parks and seeing the different aspects that they present. Coasters are what I like of that. It's only probably a percentage of what I like. I like going there. I like seeing the shows. Being a photographer, I love shooting the different shows. I love shooting the different people that are at the parks, and the different things that they have going on at the parks. And I really enjoy that. I really love seasons at different parks. Dollywood is absolutely beautiful. They do a beautiful job. It's probably my second favorite besides Busch. Dollywood is the most beautiful park besides that I've been to, and what they do during their seasons is amazing there. We've been there during their fall and their Christmas type thing, and it's absolutely amazing.
Well, and I can tell from the work I've seen that you do on social media. There's a lot of photographers out there on social media, that sort of thing. I see a lot of different pictures. And your pictures really caught my attention because, you can take pictures at a park and you're talking about the seasons, and the photographs you produce make it look almost like a new park, like it's been transformed. Each time. That's a big compliment. Because your pictures to me stand out as, wow, this guy's got something special going on here to, take a park that I've been to several times. I've seen hundreds of pictures of, and then when I see your pictures, it's like I'm seeing it for the first time. This is a really cool thing.
That's an awesome compliment, because that's what I like. I like to try and present it in a different view. I try and look at things differently than most people, and try and show things a little bit differently than other things. There's a lot of people that work there that do amazing jobs there, and that are a part of that. And I just like presenting the park, like Busch Gardens, in a way. I've been there a million times, not a million times, but quite a few times. And I'm always looking for a different way to present the park, because it's so beautiful. And some people just look at certain things and, there's the clock tower, in the beginning. Yep, everybody's taking a million pictures of that. But what's a different angle of that? What's a different way of looking at it and presenting it to someone that hasn't seen the park and go and say, wow, I really would love to go to the park because look, I've never seen that before. That's something that,
Mm-hmm. And I've looked at some of your photos and I was like, it can be parks I've been to many times. And I'll see things and I'm like, how did I miss that? It'll stand out in your photo. And so the next time I'm there, I'm like looking around trying to find it and that sort of thing. So you've definitely got a talent for the different in the best of ways. Just keep harnessing that and rolling with it because you're doing an outstanding job.
Thank you.
You've talked about some of the favorite parks you've visited. Do you have any bucket list places you want to visit in the future?
Oh my gosh, that list is so big. Definitely Cedar Park.
Top of the bucket list.
Top of the bucket list.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really want to go to Hershey. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like to go there. I definitely want to go to Cedar Park, and do that. And there's so many other ones, but those ones I definitely want right now on the bucket list is Hershey. Definitely do that. Go to Knoebels.
Yes.
Do that and ride what they have there and experience that, and experience Hershey, their way of how they do their theming stuff there.
Yeah, Hershey Park's definitely a different experience.
Yeah. And, definitely love to do those. And be honest with you, with my Busch Pass, I still have never been to Busch Gardens, Tampa. So that was on the list this year, but that got kind of scrubbed. So, but that's on the bucket list, definitely. And those are probably my top 3 to go to right now.
And if I can give you a bit of advice, when you go to visit Hershey Park, you're talking about Knoebels. Six Flags Great Adventure is literally right there.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's not a long drive between these parks. And also Dorney.
Oh, yeah. That's another one definitely on the bucket list.
It's in that area. So if you can make it all in one trip,
yeah,
I would highly recommend it. That's what we did last summer. I mean, we did like about a day and a half at Six Flags Great Adventure. Had a ton of time to do all the credits and get, oh gosh, we were Jersey Devil like 25 times an hour. We had 12 rides on El Toro, so we only ran one train, which was still good for one train.
Yeah.
And we had like 10 rides, I think, on King to Call. We got every credit in the park. We had a great time. And Hershey Park is one of those. I'd recommend at least a couple of days. It's its own level of busy all the time.
Oh, wow.
But start in the back of the park. Because like when we walked in, Candymonium, is like the showpiece right now. Of course, they're building Wildcats Revenge. That's going to open this year too, which I'm very excited to get there and ride. I'm just not sure when that's going to happen yet. But when we walked in, Candymonium was like a 2-hour wait as soon as you got in at opening.
Oh, wow.
But it's right in the front of the park. So we went to the back where nobody was. Started the back of the park and worked our way forward. And that worked out great.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. That's good advice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it worked out great because everybody's huddled at the front. Make a beeline for the back and then, make your way forward. And by the time we got through the entire park, got all the credits and we're ready to start doing some re-rides and stuff, Candymonium was down to like a 15-20 minute wait.
Oh, nice.
Because everybody had worked their way back through the park.
They've already rode that, and they're back to the park.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to go about that. And of course, most boozies know this. Try to show up during the week if you can.
Yep.
Yeah, if you show up on the weekends, you're not going to be able to do as much without a fast pass.
Yeah, exactly.
I try to avoid buying that because that's less money I would have to go to other parks. But I have the blessing of being off on weekdays during the summer, so that helps me out a lot. And I realize a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
That's why I saved my vacation time.
Yep, totally. Okay, so now we're going to move forward from talking about coasters and theme parks, and I really want to focus on your passion for photography, because on social media, that is what really caught my attention and made me interested in hearing your story, learning more about you. And, you know, in the evenings when I'm just trying to have some time to decompress, looking at your photos can just be a happy time. Please tell our audience about your history with photography. You know, what inspired you to get started? And, you know, what kind of pictures did you start out with? And then bring us into how your photography has evolved into what it is today.
Cool. Awesome. It really started with my wife. My wife, we bought her a camera one Christmas year when we moved here to Virginia back 2014, 2015. And she really likes the wildlife. Moving back here, there's so much wildlife compared to what California was, where we were at, that she just loves shooting wildlife and taking pictures. And she enjoyed also when we went to the park, she would try and take pictures of the shows and stuff like that. And she enjoyed that. And one year she talked about just, you know, how about we get a camera? Why don't you get a camera so that you can share that we can share that together and do that together doing it as a team, you know, when she's shooting, I'm just not walking around, you know. And so I ended up getting a camera and started out with like nature photography.
Okay.
And going down and shooting, you know, deer, snakes, you know, we love shooting reptiles and all that stuff. Not shooting, but photographing them and posting those and enjoying that and sharing those photos. And we started going to Busch Gardens. I just started taking my camera and we'd both take pictures of the shows and started doing that. And it became a challenge to get some of that stuff, you know, how do you shoot a coaster? It's going so fast. And how do you do that on automatic mode? You know, it's kind of hard. So it really became where Busch Gardens, I learned how to become a photographer at Busch Gardens. And I know that sounds weird, but think about it. You have people there, you learn to shoot people, you learn to shoot coasters, which are fast, you learn to shoot nighttime events, you learn to shoot shows, and, you know, all the different flowers and wildlife that they have to offer there too. So, and that's where the passion took over, is just I started doing that. It became a challenge to do that and to shoot all these different things. And I just kid in a candy shop, I'm gonna shoot this, I'm gonna shoot this. And, you know, it became something I really, really enjoyed. And then out of that, out of a thing of not being able to, wanting to share my pictures just with some friends and stuff, I created BGW Photo Fan and started posting pictures to there, and people enjoyed them. So, and then it just became to where I became more and more of a passion, and I was grown to learn how to use my camera, how to shoot different things. I've had people at the park that are old photographers there that have been around for a long time, that have documented a lot of the history, like your Rob Cody's and your Todd Ferrananis, and they really helped me a lot in that, you know, that journey. And now it's just become a passion that I love to do. I love going to the park and shooting stuff, shooting people, and getting those shots that no one else really gets, like you mentioned before. And that really is something that I really enjoy doing.
And, you know, something you said in that summary of your history of photography really particularly resonated with me. You said, like a kid in a candy store. I never really thought about it until you said it. But, you know, looking at your pictures, I told you, can make me really feel like I'm seeing the theme park for the first time, even though I've seen it several times. Does that for you to create an experience when you go to that park that is a first for you?
Yeah, I mean, I get excited about, if I get a shot, take a picture, and I like, wow, that is a picture I've been trying to get. Like, one of the hardest shows for me to shoot is Celtic Fire there. I don't know if you've seen that show there. But they have a show there, Celtic Fire, and it's amazing. It's one best show forever, theme park show. And getting to shoot that and learning to shoot that, and then trying to find the angles to shoot. And I think I found the right angles and the right settings to shoot those correctly and have those come out correct. And it's exciting for me as a kid. It's like, oh, look, Mom, look, I got this great picture. I'll yell at my wife, while I'm editing through, look at this, I got this, I finally got this. I've been trying to get this for years, and being able to create those pictures and stuff. And,
to me, it was the first time hearing you say that, of thinking, wow, that could almost make that theme park visit be like visiting the park for the first time. When you finally see, that new angle, you look at it in a different way. It's the first time you see it. It's like, wow, that's actually been here the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And Busch Gardens does such a beautiful job of decorating the park in whatever season they're at. And then the flower department the horticultural department that they have there is second to none. It's just, I can just leave work and go there. I'm 15 minutes away from the park.
Oh, nice.
And, I'm blessed to be that close. And just go there. And in 15, 20 minutes of walking through the park and looking at the flowers, looking at the trains, it's a relaxing. It's kind of my escape, our escape for my wife and I, because, go through marriage and stuff, you go through a lot of stuff with your kids and life and jobs and all that stuff. This has become our escape, the photography, the going to the park and meeting up and just talking to people and enjoying the conversations with people. It's amazing.
It's incredible. I could only be so blessed to have a place so beautiful 15 minutes away. That's awesome. So you've told us a lot about your history coming up through photography and the different experiences you've had. Let's talk about your photography today. What are the different types of pictures that you specialize in now? And what's your favorite type that you take and why?
I started my photography company from recently last year, doing that. And I love working with people on photography and, cosplay. That's amazing. I love doing the cosplay pictures because it's an adventure type thing. I love doing those. I just love people, just engagement photos. I just did an engagement photo session that I just posted on my site that I was very happy with. And they were so fun and so loving. And it's just to be a part of that process and be a part of their life and to take some picture of something that they will hopefully keep for the rest of their life and keep that as a great memory that they have to walk away with. But I love shooting just about anything right now. I'm working with a makeup artist from King's Dominion here, the 20th and the 27th. We are doing a special, she's doing all this makeup setup for something she's wanted to create, and I'm going to shoot it for her. She asked me to shoot it for her, and I'm excited about that because it's something I've never done. It's going to challenge me, and it's exciting. And to be able to do what I love on the side right now is it's amazing. It's a blessing to be able to do that, and to have my wife help me the whole time. She's been a big part of helping and being a part of that. That's, it's great to have a great person to stand behind you and support you and be a part of that and work with you on that.
Well, it's so great that you have support of your wife behind every passion that you have. That's absolutely fantastic. And we'll talk more about that here in a little bit, because I know you had some things you wanted to share with our audience as well about your wife and your marriage, and we'll get to that more here in a moment. Looking at the types of photographs that you currently take, it just made me think of a couple of questions when you were discussing that. I know you said taking engagement photos, and I'm aware that you take pictures both in the parks and out of the parks.
Yes.
One of the most fun stories I like to read sometimes are, like these people that get engaged or get married in a park or at a roller coaster. Have you had anyone ask you to take those types of photos at a park?
Well, I've done post engagement picture for someone that it was a long time, but they never got engagement photos at the park, and they got engaged at the park. So it was past time. It was like almost 6 months, a year later, we did those. I missed one of the dancers for one of the shows for Monster Stomp. Her fiance had contacted me that morning and asked me, told me that he was gonna go and propose to her right after one of the shows at 5:00. Could I be there? And I was like, I'm the farthest away I can be right now to get there for that. So I missed being able to do that. I would have loved to capture that because I've known Dina, who's the one who got engaged, for a while, and it would have been amazing to be able to capture that. But capturing moments like that would be amazing. So
Yeah, it would. And I've heard so many of those stories, and I'm sure if you keep at this long enough, that opportunity.
I did do a wedding down there. I forgot all about that. July 4th wedding that they did, not last year, I think it was the year before. I was contacted by a couple, and they were getting married, and they asked Bush if they could do it down there at the bottom of Loch Ness, down there where the bridge is over the water. And they agreed to it, and they invited me to come down and shoot the wedding for them. And that was awesome. That was amazing. That was a highlight of being able to do that, be at my favorite park, to do something amazing, to be a part of their lives, to capture that for them. That was so fun.
That's a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing. Now, I know when we were talking back and forth on social media, you mentioned that you also have some accomplishments as a photographer. Would you please share with our audience the accomplishments that you have achieved so far?
Yeah, I've been posted on Busch Gardens site a long time ago. They used to use some of my pictures for that. To me, that was an accomplishment to have one of my pictures or a couple of my pictures used on their site. That was awesome. But I've also been published twice. I had one of the guitarists from Celtic Fire, who was a musician. I did headshots for him, but I didn't know what the headshots were for. And I did body shots and stuff with his music, because he does music on the side. And then he wrote me about a month later and said, "Hey, look, just want you to know you're now a published photographer." I'm like, "What?" And he sent me the link, and it had all the pictures that I had taken either on stage and the ones that I did around town there. And when they did the interview, they used those pictures for that. And that was being published there for that. That was pretty amazing. That was a highlight. I was on cloud nine for a while on that. And then last year, I did a cosplay for a young girl named Kaylee. She's Petite Pennywise is what her Instagram sign is, but she does scary makeup, and she does it to amazing accuracy of scary people. So she did the character It.
Ooh, and that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was scary. She did amazing. And they asked me if I would do the photos for those. And I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to do that. And I was thinking, the makeup's not going to be that good. I'm just trying to prepare myself, like I'm going to do these shots for her and stuff. And I was, but I was excited to do it because I love shooting anything and hadn't done a cosplay like that before. Let me tell you, this little girl came. She had the makeup to a T. She did all the makeup herself. And she nailed the pictures like no other one. I didn't even have to guide her that much at all. The pictures speak for themselves, and they ended up getting into a cosplay magazine called Cosplay Kingdom, or Kingdom Cosplay, and they got published also in there, and I got those in there. So that was another accomplishment. So that was pretty amazing. I loved it.
Well, you have quite a resume that you've built so far. That is extremely exciting. And I'll tell you, nothing feels better than just being randomly recognized for stuff that you're doing. And you're not really doing it for the recognition. You're just doing it for fun.
It's a passion. It's my love. And if and to be honest, sometimes the recognition I get from people is like, okay, yeah, thank you. I accept that, but it's just still, it's uncomfortable for me, because I look at things a little bit differently. I look at, I'm hard on myself and hard on what I do. And, to someone come and say, oh, that's amazing. You do, it's a little uncomfortable for me, but, I'm thankful for that. I'm blessed that they're people that enjoy what I do and can take what I do and get an enjoyment out of it.
And I'll tell you, through my years' experience in various areas, the best always are the hardest on themselves. Yeah. They're their own biggest critic. But, with anything, you seem a lot like me. And I'm this way with everything I commit myself to. My career as a teacher, podcasting, my physical fitness, I'm either all in or I'm not wasting my time. I want to, keep learn. I want to keep learning. I want to keep improving, keep chasing that carrot, raising the bar and getting better.
Oh, absolutely.
And the only way to do that is to self-reflect. Look at what you're not doing well and, make changes, make adjustments as you go, and then when you get there, raise the bar again.
Yeah, learn from those mistakes and learn how to improve on those things. And that's basically
one of the things that's helped me more than anything else is to be humble. If you see someone that's doing something better than you, ask them.
Yeah.
How you do that?
I do that all the time. Yeah. Because that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that have helped me through those processes and learning those. And there's people that are doing stuff and I'm like, wow, that's absolutely amazing. How did you do that shot? And they're like, why are you asking me? You're a whatever photographer. And I'm like, no, that picture's beautiful. It's amazing. And I applaud that for people. I try and be the biggest fan, and there's a young lady that I've been working with recently with Lizzie. She works at Bush, not anymore. She's going to a college here in Georgia that's for photography, and working with her, and she is just coming out with some amazing stuff. And I'm just like, wow, awesome, amazing stuff that you're doing. And she has an eye that I don't even see, and that's amazing.
And it's like, I might be this level of photographer, but my brain is always thinking you're as strong as your biggest weakness.
Yeah.
So I might be able to do all of these things well, but here's what I'm still working on. Will you please help me with that?
Oh, absolutely. I ask those questions all the time. There's people, I still go to people, or I still research stuff, and I still ask them. It's like, I'm not ashamed to ask, because that's the only way you can learn. I mean, that's the way I've learned stuff in life, is ask and keep persisting on that. So
my principal, we actually had my end of the year conference last week. And, one of the things we were talking about is the fact that I've been in the teaching field now for 24 years. I'm 19 years in a very high at risk inner city school. This is not a population that's easy for everybody to walk in and educate. And I've not called for the first time ever, like all year. I mean, each year has been getting less and less and less. I've not had to call for assistance like security or anything with one kid in my classroom all year.
Wow, that's awesome.
None. I mean, it's been like each year's just gotten better and better and better. But this year's been my best. And, you know, a lot of teachers at my point in the game are like, they're burnt out. They're waiting on retirement.
Yeah.
And I can't be that way. Can't be that way. It's just it's a miserable way to exist all day, every day. You're making everybody else miserable right along with you.
Yeah.
And,
I definitely applaud you for being a school teacher and doing that, because that's a hard thing to do nowadays, and to things are tough now, and teaching is not an easy thing task. I applaud you for doing that and sticking with it. That's amazing.
She asked me, because she's like, how is it that, you know, the kids will do this way, you know, for one adult, but when they're with you, it's a 180, you know, and it largely depends on, you know, who the adult is in the room. You know, what is it that you're doing differently than you've done before? You know, each year has gotten better, but what is it that you're doing differently now? And I told her, I said, the answer is easy. I am literally always learning, like what we were discussing.
Yeah.
As soon as I see someone with that one child that I'm not able to connect with, and that adult's making a connection, I'm like, come here. We need to have a talk. You know, tell me what I'm not doing that I need to do. What, you know, here's what I am doing. What do I need to do differently? You know, just constantly making adjustments and modifications to get, you know, to build those relationships, to get the kids to want to do for me. Because, you know, that's key. There's not a lot of home support and that sort of thing from a lot of them. So getting them to want to do for you is the name of the game.
Yeah.
That's where it's all at. And if you're not cutting the mustard, find somebody that is and learn how to cut it with them.
Absolutely. Way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure a lot of our listeners are very curious about being able to view your artwork and learn more about it. Please share with us where listeners are able to look at your artwork and purchase it if they would like to do so.
Well, I have a
I'm sorry, let me say that again. I didn't say it right. I need to ask that question again. I said artwork. I don't know why I said that. So I'm going to put it out and I'm going to ask it again. Okay. So my brain got tired, teacher brain. Anyway, so I'm sure a lot of our listeners are very curious after listening to you talk about your photography and hearing me talk about your photography and the fantastic work that you do, being able to view your work and learn more about it and purchase it possibly. Please share with our audience where they're able to look at your artwork and purchase it if they would like to do so. I said it again. Oh my God, I'm done. All right, this is all getting edited out because my brain is.
No problem.
All right. So I'm sure after listening to you discuss your photography, a lot of our listeners have become very curious about being able to look at your photography, and some may be even thinking about purchasing it for their home office or, you know, some other location that they like to spend time in. Please share with our audience some of the places that they're able to view your photography and purchase it if they would like to do so.
Well, one of the first places you can look at is on Instagram at the BGW Photo Fan on Instagram. That's my main site for bush gardens and other content for, like, you know, Carowinds, King's Dominion, and all that. That's my main site. I also have, for my photography site for doing photography, is Randy Davidson Photography. I push at Instagram also and on Facebook. They can also go to my website. It's also www.randydavidsonphotography.com. And those are the three main sites you can do it. And Facebook is also Randy Davidson BGW Photo Fan.
Now, are they able to purchase through all of those sites as well, or just one in particular?
Well, there's not a lot of, I haven't really offered a lot of my stuff for purchase as far as like that. I've had a few people ask about it, but if they are interested, they can contact me, direct link me through Instagram or email me at randydavidsonphotography1@gmail.com, and I'll send you all that information and discuss that. I'd love to, make some of that available. So.
Okay, and is that what the ways that you can be contacted as well if they would like to set up an appointment with you to get photographs taken?
The best way is through my website at randydavidsonphotography.com. Go there. And right in the middle of the second thing on the page is the contact. Contact me there, and it sends me a message directly to my email, and gives me a notification, and I will contact you back as soon as possible. Just give as much information as you're looking for. If you're looking for pictures done at the park, I've done that before. I've done two different coaster people at the park. And they came. I did their photographs around the park, and they really enjoyed those photos, and I enjoyed doing those. So is that something you're thinking about? Yeah, hit me up. I'd be glad to do that.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And guys, I'm telling you, if you've not seen his photography, check it out, take a look, and you may just decide you want to hit him up for some business, because he does very high quality work.
Thank you so much.
So one of the topics also, in addition to theme parks, coasters, and photography, that you have communicated to me that you are very passionate about is your marriage and your relationship with your wife. And I'll tell you, for being a school teacher, and just looking at the world in general, I see so many more split relationships, divorces, single parents, and that sort of thing than our generation saw growing up. I mean, I know I grew up in a very small town, and, single parents and that sort of thing, at least back in the 80s for me, was something that wasn't really heard of a lot. And it seems to be, very common right now. No judgment towards anybody or anything like that. It's just something I've observed in society in general. One of the things our audience listens for the most with our podcast, is advice, inspiration, and help, not just, with fear facing and coasters, but with life in general. What tips would you like to share with our listeners on making a marriage last and how you've made your marriage last? And share with us how many years you all have been married.
We just celebrated our 37th year. I've been married 37 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We married pretty young. We were both 19 when we got married. Turning 20 the next month, but we both turned 20. We've been married for that long. It's been, there's like anything, it's the hard time. It's a hard thing. Both of us got married. We both didn't, we're not very mature in aspect. I had no clue in going into marriage and stuff. And I don't know why she put up with me, but here we are 37 years, and she's going to get sainted, I swear. But, she's my best friend. I mean, I have friends that I talk to and all that, but she's someone that I always want to be with around. I don't like going places without her. even if, hey, go to the theme park, take pictures yourself. No, I don't want to go because you're not with me. I'd rather you go with me. That's just the thing, is that we do a lot. We try and do a lot together. We've raised 2 kids that have had, speaking of issues, they suffer from depression and anxiety. Those were both struggles that they both have dealt with. And my daughter recently has gone through that quite a bit. But it's just sticking together and getting through those things and trying to find the best way to help them get through that, because we both struggle for the same thing. The kids got it from us, those anxieties and struggles and stuff. And, just working together to try and get them healthy and the right thing. So, just, being friends, that's it. Doing things together, date nights, we go out a lot with ourselves. We enjoy it. We like going hiking together and photography, and obviously the parks. She wants to go visit all the different parks now. So, and ride all the different coasters. So that's exciting. That's something we can do together and enjoy that. And now my photography business, she is whole in on it and is really supported on that. And, and hopefully make it into something that we can, maybe I can quit my job eventually later in life and do this full time, hopefully, but it's a friendship, and that's where it mostly hangs, keeping that friendship together. Hope that helps.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those words of wisdom. And I hope when I come back to Virginia, I'm able to not just meet you, but this fantastic wife of yours. She sounds like a lovely lady.
She's amazing. She's put up with me. I mean, come on.
Oh, you're there.
Yeah.
In your story, it reminds me a bit of my own parents. My parents got married when my mom was 17.
Wow. Yeah.
And she hadn't even graduated high school yet. And she was in that headstrong mode. She was butting heads with her parents. And they're like, "Oh, you're not getting married this young." "Oh, yes, I am." And she decided she was going to do it. And I remember when I was young, and they, like you said, they were very young too. They were inexperienced with the world. Things were not easy.
Yeah.
But they stuck it out. And, listening to the whole anxiety and depression, something I'll share with you as well, is, there are anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder also runs down my mother's side of the family. And, when my son was diagnosed with autism when he was younger, it was like, wow, where did this come from?
Absolutely.
I didn't really totally understand what autism was until I started reading about it and researching it. And then I realized it was as plain as the nose on my face. I never really educated myself about it, that my mother had it and she was undiagnosed, and her father had it as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And I told you, kind of my son's story. He had battled with depression at one point. And my daughter, she just turned 14. This has actually surfaced later on. Started showing some symptoms towards the end of elementary school.
Yeah.
And things got progressively more difficult through middle school. She's starting high school next year. Just a month ago, she was diagnosed on the spectrum as well.
Wow. Yeah.
And she with mixed anxiety and depression. She also has ADHD. So we're making progress. We're working on that. But one of the things that really struck me, and I've learned, because it's like I said, always learning, always try to get better in every area. That includes as a parent as well.
Yes.
Intelligent girls in particular with autism fall through the cracks. It's passed off as being lazy, being rude, just different sorts of things.
Oh,
that it's really not. And I'm glad I done that, really done the research and educated myself. and then started, looking bit by bit by bit at the family history, because the older she gets, the more her behavior was starting to resemble my mom's.
Yeah.
Which not from the bipolar standpoint, but from the autism too. I'm convinced she had that, just back in a small town of Maysville with 10,000 people 50 years ago was never a thing. It's just not something I thought of. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'm totally with you on doing absolutely everything you can to help your child.
Yep.
But at the same time, like you're talking about with you and your wife, you got to take care of yourself.
Yes, that's very important.
Do what's good for you so you can do what's good for everybody else.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head. You can't pour from an empty cup. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So our next question is one that we just added to the podcast this season. And I'd like to put it in context for you before I ask it, so you're not like, why in the world is she asking me this question out of the clear blue? We had a very big fan of the podcast. He was also a guest the first season, and this was before I joined the podcast. I didn't know him, but he was a good friend of David's. He was also associated with Coaster Kids. Dustin Listra was his name. He unexpectedly passed away last year at the age of 16.
Wow.
Yeah, and having a son that's 17 and a daughter that's 14, anytime I see stuff like that, it really just makes me do a double take and think. We talked about, every day, do as much good as you can for as many people as you can.
Yeah.
And I really try to approach each day with live today like it's your last, because you never know when it is, and try to not have regrets that you didn't have time to go back and make right. Just do as much good as you can each day, even when you don't feel like it. When you don't feel like it, push yourself and try to do even a little bit more.
Yeah.
So keeping that mindset in context, we really, as a podcast team, started talking about the word legacy. What type of legacy would you like to leave for your family, friends, and colleagues when you leave this world? How do you want to be remembered?
Wow. That's
it's a big question.
Yeah. I mean, when the good Lord decides it's time to go, and it's time to go, I just hope that, I was a good father, and that I treated people well. That's the main thing, is that, I treated people well and was an influence and helped them in some way. That's the biggest thing. It's just making sure that I have done that, being a good father, good husband, and being able to make sure that I've helped people through my life, that needed help. So that would be my legacy, knowing that, hey, if I did that, that's legacy I want. So
I absolutely love that. And that's one of the things too, and I've never really talked about this much here on the podcast, that as a teacher, or, sometimes even life at home with kids, when you have those worst day ever kind of days, where it feels like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and then the one thing that you thought was going to go right went wrong too.
Yep.
In order to not get stuck in a rut, I really try to start every day. Every day is a new day. New mindset. It is your opportunity to start again and do it over. Start again and do it better.
That's the mantra that I've always kept.
Just basically, start over and try again. So one of the things in that mindset I have really started purposefully forcing myself to do on those awful days, if it's at work or if it's on wherever, I will force myself to sit down and think of something that went right.
Yep.
And then when I think of one thing that went right, there's usually several other things that went right as well. And 9 times out of 10, the stuff that went wrong is really far less than the things that went right. It's just my brain made such a big deal out of it. It felt like that's all I did the whole day. So, it's like, okay, what good did you do when you were at school here today? What kid needed you to be here today? And, once I sit down and think about that, there's always good to be found.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. There's stuff in there. You got to look for it. And typically day to day, I mean, you're going to get what you look for. If you look for the bad, it's going to be there. There's no perfect situation anywhere you go. But if you look for the good, you're going to find a lot more of that.
Yeah, nine out of 10 times we're our worst enemy. I mean, there's a song by a band that I used to listen to. It's called "Me Against Me Against Me," and it's a song that really always resonated with me. It's like, okay, is this me against me against me? Is it? Am I piling on myself? Am I bringing this to more than it is? And 99% of the time, it's the case. Learning to not fight yourself over something that you don't need to fight yourself over. And you had said it. Music's always played a big part in our lives here. Music and movies in our family. We're either quoting music or we're either quoting movies. But one of my all-time favorite songs was by a band called POD, and it's live, and it says what you had said. Every day is a new day. I'm thankful for every breath I take. I won't take it for granted. I learn from my mistakes, and it's what's beyond my control. I've got to let go in this lifetime, and it goes on, and that is a song that will forever be what I've got to hang on to. That's a song that will always be my call song to get to, and that's really helped me through a lot of things. So.
Absolutely. I've got one here lately too. I've really started listening to a lot as well. Music has always been a very big part of my life. And that's one of the reasons, of course, I've got a ton of coaster tattoos, but one that really connected with me that I just got recently was the Fury treble clef. It was because, one, I love Fury, but two, I was a very accomplished trumpet player for a long time. I mean, all the way through college, had my bachelor's degree in music education, almost went into trumpet performance. I played pretty regularly up until probably about 10 years ago, and I just started getting into other things. But I still, listen to music a lot. And it's not as much of the instrumental music these days. But I found, like that the music of my youth, it really takes your head back, to when you were younger, you were carefree. It just keeps my mind in a happy place. Well, in the process of listening to that, I discovered this song I'd never heard before until like last year, Follow Your Heart by Scorpions.
Oh,
And
Scorpions, amazing band.
My goodness. Yes. And it's just like, it's just every word of that song is like this chapter of my life, finding my potential. Your story's not finished yet, what's coming next, what's around the corner, and every morning before I go into the school building, I sit in the car and I listen to my music. I turn it up pretty loud, it just gets me in that carefree, happy mindset, helps me wake up. And then I go in and I feel like whatever challenges of the day come my way, I'm relaxed, I'm chill, I've got it, I can handle it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So that brings us to our last question. We were talking earlier, about our listeners and our audience, which is what this podcast is for. And really, what it's all about. It's for our fans to help in any way that we can. Most of our listeners listen for a variety of reasons. You know, they like to hear the fear journey. Some of them are trying to face and overcome fears of their own. A lot of just listening for, inspiration and life advice in general. Keeping that in mind, what advice would you like to share with our listeners? And this can really be about anything at all you would like to make it about. Coasters, theme parks, or totally non-related at all. What advice would you like to give?
Wow, that's just, with your passions, follow your passions, and stick with that, and always stick with it, and try and, when the tough times come in those things, still push through those things. Do that, and be kind to people, and love people. No matter where they're at in their lives or in their stage of their lives, love them, because that's what we're asked to do, is to love people and be kind to them. And no matter if someone's different than you, someone's doesn't think the way you do, and someone doesn't think that certain coaster is what you think, and the other thing, just love them and treat them like you want to be treated. Give the same grace that you expect to get, and that's important. So
and please, if you can't help, don't hurt.
There you go. Get out of the way.
Yep. And we're all in those situations sometimes. Sometimes it's easier, to be kind and loving than others. And if you're in that mindset where you just can't or won't, then please just don't hurt.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's the flip side of that. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with me and being our guest this evening. I've really loved hearing more about you and getting to know you personally and professionally. I want to thank you for being our guest on the podcast, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great. I enjoyed speaking with you and sharing my passion of both theme parks and photography with you. I mean, I get to speak with that, and that excites me to no end, to be able to talk on those things.
It's been a privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you want to see more of us, we upload every Friday. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all at Coaster Challenge. Links are in the description below. Thanks for joining us here today.